They didn't scream, they didn't run, and they almost never hesitated. A samurai who lost his honor, lost his right to live. Now imagine this. You are standing on a battlefield, and the person in front of you is not just a warrior, but someone who has already accepted death. This is not a story about swords. This is a story about people who turned death into discipline. In feudal Japan, samurai were more than warriors. They were the elite class, judges, executioners, politicians, and philosophers at the same time. Their path was called Bushido, the way of the warrior. But Bushido was not just a moral code. It was a psychological system designed to erase fear completely. A samurai was not allowed to fear, because fear meant losing control. Losing control meant losing honor, and losing honor meant you were already dead, just not buried yet. Now imagine a samurai child. He was not raised like a child. He was raised like a future weapon. From the age of 7, he was trained to master the katana, control his breathing, endure pain without reaction, and most importantly, erase emotion. Crying, shame, fear, dishonor, doubt, weakness. A samurai had to become something unnatural, a human who behaves like steel. But the real horror of this world did not begin on the battlefield. It began in ritual death, seppuku, a ritual suicide that was not seen as failure, but as restoration of honor. When a samurai lost honor, he did not run. He did not hide. He would sit calmly, write a final poem, and open his own abdomen with a short blade. And beside him stood the kaishakunin, a second samurai whose role was to deliver a precise strike to end suffering instantly. To outsiders, this looks like brutality. To them, it was control, even over death itself. But samurai were not just warriors of death. They were warriors of discipline. Their core belief was simple. War is decided before the first strike, not strength, not rage, not emotion, but timing, awareness, control. The katana, often romanticized, was not magic. It was not about the sword. It was about the mind behind it. Because a true samurai did not depend on his weapon. He depended on his state of consciousness. And even without a blade, he was expected to remain a samurai. And here comes a paradox. Many samurai were also poets. Men who killed on battlefields wrote haiku about cherry blossoms falling in silence, because they believed life itself was as fragile as a petal in the wind. And that is why every moment had to be lived with precision, as if it could be the last. But the story of the samurai is not just honor and poetry. It is also one of the most brutal political eras in history. For centuries, Japan was not a unified country. It was broken into powerful military families, clans, each with its own armies, castles, laws, and ambitions. Real power did not belong to the emperor. It belonged to whoever controlled the strongest warriors. And then came the Sengoku period, the warring states era. And this was not just war. It was total collapse of trust. Clans like Oda, Takeda, Uesugi, Shimazu, and hundreds of others fought in a constant cycle of survival. There was no peacetime, only preparation for the next betrayal. Alliances were temporary illusions. A sworn brother could become an enemy within a season. Marriage was not love. It was political control. Peace treaties were just pauses between betrayals. War was not only fought on open fields. It was fought in shadows. Spies infiltrated castles disguised as servants. Generals were assassinated before battles even began. Entire clans were destroyed not by swords, but by deception, poison, and betrayal from within. Sometimes, a castle did not fall because of force, but because someone inside opened the gates at night. And then, the battlefield itself changed forever. Because something arrived in Japan that shattered everything samurai believed in: firearms. At first, they were called dishonorable, cowards' weapons. A weapon that kills without skill was seen as an insult to the warrior code. But war does not care about honor. It only cares about survival. When Portuguese traders introduced matchlock guns, everything began to shift. Oda Nobunaga was the first to understand this fully. He didn't reject the weapon. He industrialized it. He trained soldiers in coordinated firing lines, rows of men who could reload and fire in waves. Continuous gunfire replaced individual duels, and suddenly, everything samurai believed in started to collapse. A master swordsman could die instantly without even drawing his blade. Years of training meant nothing against a single bullet. Battle became mathematics, not honor, not skill, not poetry, just efficiency. Armor changed, strategy changed, fear changed. The battlefield stopped being a place of duels and became a machine of mass death. And still, the samurai tried to adapt. But the world had already moved on. Eventually, after decades of chaos, the Tokugawa clan managed to unify Japan, not through unstoppable force, but through patience, political intelligence, and control over time itself. They didn't win every battle. They outlived everyone else. And then came the final collapse, the Meiji Restoration. Japan modernized at extreme speed. A national army replaced feudal warriors. Rifles replaced swords. Artillery replaced tradition. And the samurai, once the backbone of Japan, became obsolete overnight. Imagine training your entire life to master war, and then discovering that war has changed without you. Some resisted, some revolted, some disappeared quietly into history, but the era was over. However, the samurai did not fully disappear, because what survived was not the sword, it was the mindset. Today, the spirit of the samurai lives on, not in battlefields, but in discipline, resilience, and absolute self-control. Because a true samurai was never defined by his weapon. He was defined by his ability to control himself in a world built on chaos. And that is the hardest war any human can fight. If this story showed you the samurai from a different perspective, subscribe for more deep historical stories like this. Like the video if you want more cinematic history content. And comment below, could you live by a code where honor matters more than life itself?